Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting event hosted by us here at Circuit Stream. Thank you for joining us today for this XR development with Unity Open House. Just wanted to do a brief audio and video check, make sure that you guys can hear me okay and see the screen okay. If you could give me a thumbs up or a yes or no in the chat, that would be amazing. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Perfect. Yeah, so we have a lot of people joining us today. So while we wait for everyone to join us, I just want to do and mention a couple of housekeeping items. We do have the chat option, as you guys already figured out. Feel free to drop in your LinkedIn profiles and network a little bit, get to know everyone who's attending this session. And we're all like-minded people interested in the same industry. So this is a great place to kind of get to know people that have the same mindset and interest. Also, there is a questions tab as well at the end of this session. Um, we will answer your questions live with our guests. So feel free to head over there and post any questions that you have. And lastly, there's also a polls tab at the bottom of your screen. I will be dropping a couple of polls in here throughout the open house. So just keep an eye out on those polls. It'll help us greatly to be able to put these awesome workshops together for you guys and be able to host more of these based on your interests. Now I'm going to take a few minutes, do a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Roham. I go by Ro. It's easier for everyone to remember. I'm an enrollment advisor here at Circuit Stream. Have around 7+ years of working experience in business development as well as customer service, and I've been a semi-pro soccer player or football player for those of us not in North America, but that was long ago, few years now, so I'm nowhere near the shape that I need to be, but that was my previous life. And for today's session, we also have our very special guest with us here as well. Nikolai is a Circuit Stream XR development with Unity alumni. He's also the CEO and founder of Horizon Health, which is a company using XR in a very unique way to help people around the world. We'll get into the details of what Nikolai and his amazing company are doing a little further into the session. But before we do that, I just wanted to do a little agenda for you guys. So I'll do a little bit of introduction on Circuit Stream and who we are and what we do. That'll take around 10 to 15 minutes. Then we'll have Nikolai uh, join us for 30 to 45 minutes. We'll have a in-depth chat with him about his experience. We'll ask him to share some of his wisdom and knowledge with us, having being someone who's carved out a very successful and impressive career after joining Circuit Stream. And then after that, we'll do a brief wrap up and I'll share some more resources before we get into the live Q&A with Nikolai. Now, what who are we? What is Circuit Stream? We're an education company founded back in 2015. Our founders noticed a gap in personalized training and education space in the immersive technology or XR industry. And to date, we're very proud to say we've supported over 40,000 individual learners in XR and in Unity. These learners have taken part in our various workshops and courses over the years, and this is a milestone that like I mentioned, we're incredibly proud of. What we have here at Circuit Stream is a team of is a global team of individuals all around the world, which who are passionate about accelerating AR and VR and just the XR industry in general. And because we have team members and instructors all over the world, this helps us accommodate students across multiple time zones as well. Now, I would like to mention that Circuit Stream is also a Unity official training partner. And partners of Unity are approved based on their expertise, their focus on quality education, as well as on the demonstrated success of their students. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Unity, they've created one of the most extensive and robust development engines on the market, which we'll get into a little bit later into the session. It is also worth noting that our instructors maintain the highest level of certification offered by Unity. Now, a little bit about our academic offerings and our academic portfolio. We have a portfolio of free online workshops and open houses, webinars like today, and also a variety of courses that we offer, which are all designed to help students learn how to build VR and AR content in Unity. Now, these courses are mainly for beginners, but we can help more intermediate or advanced students through the different one-on-one sessions or team training offerings as well. Now, if you are looking for XR specific training, we have our XR development with Unity course for developers, as well as our interaction design and prototyping for XR course for those of us who are a little bit more design oriented. We also recently launched our Unity Developer Bootcamp. This is an intensive 24-week live online boot camp to prepare you for a successful career in 3D development. And this is by far the most extensive program that we've ever offered. Now, one of the questions that we always get is, who have we actually worked with? Well, we've trained teams and professionals for some of the largest organizations in the world, such as Apple, Meta, Hershey's, even the U.S. Navy, just to name a few. And, I would like to mention that we do work with organizations large and small, right down to the individual learner. And I'm also proud to announce that CircuitStream has been partnering with some of the world's most prestigious universities to offer our educational programs, our XR development with Unity program, as well as our XR design program. And recently, our boot camp is offered through the universities that you see on screen. We're also launching new partnerships with more schools throughout North America soon, so stay tuned for those. And now getting into Unity, what exactly is Unity? If you've seen this interface before that you're seeing on screen, then you're most likely already familiar with the engine. And if you've seen this particular muffin clicker game on screen, then you've probably been through our C# scripting fundamentals program. But for those of us who are unfamiliar with Unity, Unity is a free development engine. It's a program that can be used to create both 2D and real-time 3D content, which would include augmented reality as well as virtual reality. And in our opinion, Unity is definitely the program most beginner friendly if you're looking to begin making your XR applications. Now, we know that Unity is used to create over 60% of the world's AR and VR content, and it's also responsible for an enormous share of the broader content and application markets as well. Now, how Unity works, just like anything, all these applications, they start with an idea. From there, you need to build your assets and bring them into Unity and create that immersive interaction using the C# scripting language. Once you're happy with your build, you need to leverage an SDK or a software development kit to ensure that your target device is compatible with your build. Once you've done all of that, you can render and publish your app and you have an application. Now, that will conclude my portion, the introduction portion of this session. I'd like to remind everyone in the audience that we will be recording the open house, and that everyone who signed up to join us today will be receiving the recording via email. Now, without further ado, I would like to take this time to invite Nikolai up on stage. It's an honor and privilege to have him join us today. Nikolai, are you with us?
I certainly am. Yeah.
Oh, hello. Thank you again for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you. Just before we jump in, I wanted to give you some time to go ahead and do a little bit of introduction for the people that are joining. Just tell us a bit about yourself and your experience.
Yeah. Thanks, Ro. Yeah. I first want to start off by saying thanks for inviting me. First of all, it's so much fun to be looking back at my personal, XR journey with CircuitStream, and actually looking back and see all the things that we've been doing since I started. And my goal for this session is really to answer everybody's questions as truthfully and honestly as I can, because I know what it feels like to be in the shoes of the people on the other side that's just kind of like interested in this stuff. Maybe you have experience in XR, VR, AR, or maybe you have zero. I literally had zero experience in that. And I just want to be as much help for anybody in the room. So just keep asking questions in the chat. I'll try to get to those. And what I thought I would be doing to kick things off is just, I guess, tell a little bit about myself, who I am, and why I'm here, and why it could maybe be valuable for you to stick around to hear, my personal journey and my tips for what I would have told my younger self if I knew what I know now about CircuitStream, and specifically the 10 weeks program that I did. So yeah, with that, a little bit about me. I'm originally from Denmark. That's, think Lego, C++, all that stuff is invented by Danish people, and Smørrebrød, which is the open deli sandwiches, which is a very popular thing where I'm from. And I think my journey started with a fascination for personal development, therapy, counseling, everything that has to do with up-leveling the way we are as human beings, between ourselves and with ourselves. And also my fascination with video games and and technology was really the intersection of all those things. And I remember the first time I put on a VR headset, and I was literally blown away, because the first thing I actually tried was an old 2014 Google Cardboard box, that we got in the office when I was working at Google. And I remember slipping in this phone, and I was like, what is this? And actually I thought it was so cool that I just needed to know more. And then I think what happened with VR was it wasn't that interesting for me, because it was just a cardboard box, right? But then the Quest came out, Quest 1, and I tried that, and that really blew me away even more. And I can't wait for what's going to happen in October with Quest Pro and whatever they call it nowadays. So we've certainly come a long way. But I think that was my first fascination. And it's been a very personal journey for me, because I started out with a personal thing I wanted to do. I was very interested in therapy. And I wanted to my personal problem that I was trying to solve with VR was, I want the therapy session, but I can't get one because my counselor does not have time on her calendar. So I got to wait 2 weeks, right? That's a long time when you feel really bad. And I thought to myself, what if I can take, the thing that she's doing on the phone with me, this therapy intervention, really, which is a protocol of steps that she's kind of guiding me through to help me sort of regulate my emotions and get to new insights. What if I could take that and put into VR? Actually, I wanted to put her into VR, but there's a little way there. So I started, thinking about how to do that, and that kind of led me to, thinking that we could use it in VR, and the short story really is I found CircuitStream after a gazillion hours of research, because there's all these awesome app academy programs, right, where you can build software for phone apps or phone apps, but there's really not a lot of schools and courses I was impressed with back then when I started. And I found CircuitStream, and I was like, this sounds really interesting. And I met with the instructors. I actually came to one of these events here myself, where they didn't have a person that gone through any of this at that time. And I started doing the course. I was like, it was expensive, but I'm like, I want to really learn this and really get into this and see if I can actually put a therapy process into VR. And so I signed up and I started, and it was really the best decisions I've ever done in terms of learning something new. And so that's sort of like how I ended up with CircuitStream. And I have, not to kind of toot their horn, but I gotta say, the teachers there are so pedagogical. The process of how they teach is, at least the ones I was taught under, and I had 3 different teachers at the time, because it was so slow, I had to like redo some of the stuff. Um, but they are all really amazing, and I think their teaching style has really carried me through, and also the software they're using to kind of deliver the teachings and everything is really top notch. And I've only seen it gotten better since I started. So I think that's just a quick introduction. Ro, I want to kind of turn it over to you to kind of moderate me a little bit so I don't just like babble along and don't kind of pay attention to what people are saying in the chat here as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was great. I mean, it's that's exactly what I think people that have joined the open house today, they want to know your journey, where it all started, how, obviously you've gone out to carve out a pretty impressive career, owning your own company, being the CEO and founder. So it's always interesting for, a lot of the people that we have in this session today, they're just getting started with their XR journey. So, having someone who's gone through this exact program and, kind of getting their information from them is a big help, which is why I wanted to actually ask you, if you could go back to, you mentioned you were a beginner coming into this program. I know that one of the questions that I get a lot being on the enrollment advisor side is, we know that it says beginner friendly, but how beginner friendly is it really? Do you need any sort of background? Is it going to be one of those things that I go in and I get overwhelmed if I don't know anything? So could you maybe tell us a little bit about that and your experience with that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, right? I actually did have, you know, a little bit of HTML, CSS understanding. I was like doing some, I think Udemy or whatever it's called. I forgot what it was called, like some online course back in the day in 2017, and I was like dabbling with trying to make something, and it was really hard, right, to get into. But I have a little bit of Python, like intro 101, understand what a variable is, and like, you write lines of code that does stuff, and there's a way of, putting commas and whatnot, the syntax. And so I kind of I got a little bit of that already, and I did do, a very basic iPhone app, based on a recipe, part of a course outside of course, CircuitStream back in 2017. But I started back in 2020, I believe. So it was a big while since I've done anything like that, and I thought it was really hard. I don't think my mind automatically works like, to create code. I think generally it's a very different language of sort of putting yourself, like a different mind space to put yourself into. It's unlike speaking the normal word where you can just edit yourself and people understand. But I think, my experience is really basic. I did have a little bit of experience with some other languages, but not C sharp. And I like, if I were to tell myself something, that would be a good tip, is one, to evaluate my own weak points going in, because the scripting was certainly a huge weak point for me. Understanding how it all connects, looking at this, environment, where you have a hierarchy and you have game objects and whatnot, and how does it all connect? So, I actually found a really interesting course developed by Unity, which is, I think, a intro to C sharp course, and that really helped me a lot as a foundation. So I would have taken that before, because the C sharp for me was really, really tough. And so that's point number one. Tip number one is like to evaluate a weak point and match that up against the curriculum, and actually start getting ahead of that, because that will help you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's C sharp is, always the toughest part for most people. It's learning a new language. It can be hard and challenging, so it is always a good idea to kind of get yourself at least somewhat familiar with it before coming into the program. Now, again, keeping in line with the program, with your experience as a student with Circuit Stream, other than the live sessions and stuff, we always pride ourselves on. We're very proud of having, the external support, our instructors, the community channels, and things like that. Would you be able to kind of shed some light on your experience with those aspects of the program as well?
Yeah. So for the training, the live training, I thought that was really, really well done. Especially, I want to call out Usman for excellent training skills. I always do that because he's certainly the best teacher I've ever seen in action. And I felt they were really good. You are in a group setting where it's like you and then a couple others, so you're together with a cohort. Then there's the teacher, there's the curriculum of what you kind of go over, and you kind of know what it is you're going over before you even start. And the teacher shares a screen, and then he or she sort of starts, one, explaining what's about to happen. So it becomes micro segments, which I think is a great learning approach. And then the teacher shows this, and then afterwards, you get a chance to do that in a window, um, and then there's an opportunity to ask questions after and during that session where you work on it, a period of time where you work on it yourself. And I personally find that just that micro learning approach really really helpful, because otherwise you could just watch a video, right? Why would you be in the course if you couldn't ask questions and say, I don't know where to, I can't get this to work. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you. That was great, and I completely agree with you as well. I do want to kind of switch gears a little bit, kind of move up the timeline from back when you were in the program and everything.
Yeah.
If you could go back, let's say, I know we've had some questions about the portfolio pieces and things like that you get throughout the program. If you could go back with regards to those projects and those portfolio pieces, is there anything that you would do differently? And if so, why would you do it differently?
Yeah, I do this scratch here because, I thought the portfolio project was very difficult for me because I set out to build something that was way beyond my capabilities. I was sort of encouraged to do that because it was my passion, and so maybe I could do a little bit of it and get some progress, which I think I did. But I was in nowhere near shape to finalize my portfolio project, to be completely honest, because it was so ambitious. So my advice would be to pick a small, really scoped out project to do, and just stick with that and be happy to just work on anything that sort of proves that you're doing things, and you can look back and say, I'm happy with my small creation rather than a big project, which I did. So that would be, a really good tip. It's more fun to succeed at a little thing than not succeeding at anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we always like to mention as well. With the beginner friendly nature of this program, it is an introductory level program to, so to come in, learn the skills, get familiar, but as you'd be able to tell us, which kind of segues into my next question, after you're done and you graduate from the program, there's obviously, a lot of work that needs to be done to get to where you are right now. So, um, could you talk a little bit about that particular part of your journey coming out of Circuit Stream and what
Yeah.
that was like to, now having your own company?
Yeah, I would say it's a startup, not a company. So we're just still starting out. We're just, we've been at this for about 2 years now. But I think already going into Circuit Stream, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't wanted a job in the industry. I wanted to create a project, which became like a company. And I've seen other students do the same thing or wanting to do the same thing. I think what I chose, if you think about the different paths when you get out of Circuit Stream, you could do, yes, you could launch your own startup if that's your appetite, or you could, become, an employee at a great company that already is up and running and become like an XR expert and do that. Or I've heard about people that work in agencies, right, to up level their skills, and go into the agency route and be hired into an agency or upskill up level your skills when you're already working inside an agency. And some people also, fourthly, go and apply this at the company they do work for already, and then sort of pivot into a more XR role, if they aren't already in one. So that's at least sort of the four paths I've heard about. But for this sort of beginner friendly course, for me, it was just about learning the basics, and then having this very clear vision, product vision in my mind, that I wanted to build a particular product that I wanted to test out if it worked. And in our case, we're really lucky because of our diligence that it did work the first time we built this product. Um, and that was a thrilling experience to see that come to life. Really, it was just like the Frankenstein monster is like it's awake, it's alive, it's a thing, and just seeing people go through a VR therapy experience and come out and feel like flabbergasted and loaded with new insights and new ways of doing things and showing up in their life is just the greatest kick ever, I think. So another tip from the side, just work on something that you're really passionate about and you'll complete it in terms of projects.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the key, I think, to really everything in life. As long as you're doing something that you're passionate about, you'll find a way to make it work for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Now, the this question, I know that a lot of, again, individuals have, even prior to this open house and just based on my experience of talking with everyone on over the phones, this is a question that we get all the time. So I wanted to ask you, and I understand if there are there are different criterias for each individual, but as a CEO of your startup, if you're looking to hire a developer, what sort of qualities, what do you look for in a developer? Is it a portfolio, is it certifications, is it a mix of both? What sort of qualities should everyone keep in mind and aspire to get in order to kind of appeal to someone in your position?
Yeah, I don't know if my camera's frozen, but it is on my side, but I'll just keep talking anyways.
You're good, we
But
can see you.
okay, all right, great. Yeah, so I think the number one thing, obviously there's a skill assessment, right? What have you built as your first project? What are you working on right now? And what is in your portfolio if you have any? And I think, from my perspective, the number one thing is attitude. And so it's this fluffy word, but if I were to double click and unpack the attitude, it really is the idea of like, I'm showing up, I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow, and I'm not afraid to dig into problems I don't know about and, be vulnerable and say, I don't know, but I'll figure this out. I think that kind of growth mindset is the ultimate because I think in this industry, no matter if you're an expert or a beginner or anything in between, there's always new technology coming out. You always need to learn things on the fly and on the go and look up things and have this like, I will almost call it, an investigator sort of mentality. If there's a problem, you'll try to figure it out and you think it's fun to figure out. Especially in this industry. So that's the growth mindset slash attitude, showing up and just being really passionate about something and wanting to make things work. Because a lot of times things don't work, which is the most frustrating thing in development. It's like we want to build this thing, but it doesn't work, and a lot of time is just figuring out how to make things work. And that's certainly something like that gets easier and better with the growth mindset. But on the skill side of things, I think it's important that when you get out of Circuit Stream, that you also are continuously building a portfolio and not just have a one-off project, or at least you're thinking about a concept or new concepts you want to build, or you are actually working on a project. The continuous nurturing of your new skill is sort of a really good sign that you're a person that's keep developing and keep building things, so your skills and talent is kept fresh in a sense, right? So that's the two main things um, that I look for. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, these are extremely valuable, for everyone who's going to be watching us. So I would, if I was on the other side, I was taking notes myself, to be honest with you. Um, Now, one question that I saw in different forms that we got here, both in the questions tab as well as the chat, is as an insider being in this industry and kind of being in the trenches, where do you see this going? I know it's a loaded question, but
Yeah.
where do you see this industry going, or this technology, I should say? Oh, I think Nikolai might have a little bit of a technical difficulty. No worries. What we will do, I would like to just kind of take this time while we wait for Nikolai to come back online. Just want to Remind everyone that this session is going to be recorded, and you will receive the recordings via email. Also, oh, there we go.
Okay,
All right,
we're back.
we're back.
The loaded question was,
As an insider, who's in the trenches and working in this industry, where do you see this technology in this industry going, in the next 5 to 10 years, I would say?
um, yeah, that's a very loaded question. There's tons of different industries, right? And each industry has different use cases. So, for example, I did work for an industrial technology company called ABB, just like Siemens or Honeywell, for example. And they were using augmented reality for field experts to go out and inspect a plant, and then the expert sits somewhere else and is beamed in to kind of guide the field expert. So that's just one use case in one industry, in one sub use case in that industry, right? So there's just gazillions of different types of use cases. We've seen, the Hilton hotel chain do room service training, right? And SAS, Scandinavian Airlines, do drill training for their stewards, for example. And so, I see sort of, space in the entire industry. And with AR and VR, all the devices getting smaller and more mobile, I think eventually there'll be a future where it's ubiquitous, just like our phones. You'll see people with glasses on that are doing you know AR projections on environments, and collaboration experiences as well. But I think those sort of more sci-fi. I think they'll probably be about 5 to 10 years out. But I think that's eventually where it's going to go. I do have my reservations for that type of always-on application, because I do think a lot about people's mental health and well-being. And if we look at how screens like our phones have been used with social media companies, it's been a way to hijack people's brains in a sense. So I think the the stewarding this technology in an ethical way is even more important than before, because it can be an always on experience. So I think that's something to be look out for with these experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you use the perfect example, I think, with phones and social media and them kind of picking up and growing so rapidly. Obviously there's some pros and cons with everything, and we need to be mindful. And I guess you have a very unique perspective, like you mentioned, with your startup, and what you're doing in XR is very focused on using the technology for the well-being of people and actually helping people's mental state and mental health, which is super cool. I
Yeah.
have to say, it's super cool. But yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that everyone shares those reservations and those concerns a little bit, for sure. Um, One thing I wanted to also kind of get your insight on, I think one of the, no, I don't want to say arguments, but one of the discussion points that has recently has surfaced is kind of like the Android versus iOS discussion, AR versus VR. If you could give a little bit of insight, your thoughts on which one do you think is going to surpass the other one, which one's more important in terms of mastering that skill while, working on the other. If you could give some
Yeah.
insight or your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I really think it depends on the use case at hand, right? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to build an application for firemen and women going into buildings and projecting heat data, onto, an AR glass to show where it's burning or the fire is coming from, or detect sound or show something behind you without looking back when you're wearing this gigantic sort of armor of equipment? Or are you building, are you building for a use case where people can train in an environment like that they don't have to visit. That's quite dangerous, like going out on a construction site, right? And train them live instead of that you training them inside of VR in a safe physical location. So I think both VR and AR will be used for different use cases. Um, Many people talk about AR being more sort of applicable to our everyday lives because you can look up and communicate with the real world or the physical world, I would rather say. And so I think it really depends on what you want to build for. So in terms of like skilling up in AR or VR, I think it just has to do with your personal preferences in terms of the use cases you're personally drawn to. If you're building something for yourself or if it's like for company purposes, we still have, I think, if you're just like purely, wanting to, oh, I want to widen my options in terms of employment. Right now, I would say my understanding is that VR is the prominent, obviously because the install base is higher, whereas AR is still to grow. We've seen, companies and startups do well in this space since Google Glass and being acquired as well. But with Apple, announcing something maybe next year in both the AR and VR space, we'll have to see if they're able to create a really robust AR market, including a VR market, which we'll have to wait and see. But for right now, if I were to pick, something to skill up in, I would say would be VR, just because the pure install base, to my knowledge, is higher than AR install base. And then you could say, well, there's also AR in these phones, and you're absolutely right. So again, it depends on sort of what you're leaning towards personally, I think, and what you're fired up about. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great answer. I think that, yeah, I completely agree with you that at the end of the day, it comes back to what we talked about earlier, your passion and what you want to do,
Yeah.
for sure. So, yeah, so what I want to do here, Nikolai, I want to kind of give you some time if there's anything that you think, as again, the people that we have, I know that we have a lot of beginners or a lot of people who are starting their careers. Anything that you would like to mention, any warnings, watch outs, things like that before we kind of give you a little break to grab a drink of water and then bring you back for the Q&A section. So if there's anything that I haven't asked that you would like to mention, please go ahead.
Yeah. I'm looking at my notes here, and I wrote a couple of things, advices for myself that I think could be useful for others. One is, to evaluate your weak points, and then, even those out as much as you can with supplementary learning, either from CircuitStream, because I know they also have a free C# course, I believe. I took that. That was great. Thank you, Jerry. Um, that was the instructor. And then I really think getting support from your friends and family, aligning them that you're doing this and this is like a career investment, and making sure they respect your time, and so you can focus on this particular skill building, is very important. I think so too. And then connect and build projects. I think that's another point. As you go through the course, connect with people, show up to events, just friend them on LinkedIn even though you don't know them. It's a small world, and you'll see people again and again, because the VR and AR world is right quite small, I think, still. So that's a great way to kind of build your network as you go along. And then, yeah, think about building projects after you're done as well. I think that's a really important tip. Keep building, even if it's just concepts on on a back of the napkin, and rewatch the recordings. If you get into the course, rewatch the recordings. They're amazing. I did that every single time, because I think the number one learning tip is it truly is a staircase. You can't get to the next step on the staircase if you haven't learned the first thing. And trust me, I know, because I've been there. Uh, I can't tell you how embarrassing it is to, you know, not know something like at the end of the course that was taught the first day, and then I figure it out, and then I'm like, oh my god, my whole world just pivots, and I having like a blast of an epiphany, and that really happened to me, and I won't share what it is, but it was really embarrassing. But I think there's just something about really taking the learning like seriously in the sense of, you know, being an investigator and detective and trying to really figure out what it is, and, you know, really ask for that help. There's some great, you know, office hours as well outside of the course that I actually sometimes use and have used also a part of the boot camp. Just ask away, ask away. Don't leave any stone unturned. I think that's the most important tip as well, because it will, you know, compound over time. You're learning in a good way when you do turn all those stones.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the perfect advice as well, and that's usually what I tell everyone that I speak with as well. You know, the live sessions are great. You have the instructors there. Make sure you ask as many questions as you need. You know, make sure you utilize all the resources that are at your fingertips to really get the most out of the program. And even after the fact, make sure you're very involved with the community. Like you said, it's a small community, but it's growing very fast. So being a part of it
Yeah.
is always a good idea for sure. And yeah, I mean, you know, again, the recordings of the classes and things that you mentioned, that's huge as well. That was definitely great advice. Thank you very much. Like I mentioned, I'm going to let you take a break
All
before I
right.
invite you back on stage. I do see that we've had lots of questions. So I will actually say that if anyone, you know, if you guys have more questions, don't hesitate to put them in the questions tab. We'll bring Nikolai back up on stage and then we'll go through your questions live. So we'll see you again shortly, Nikolai.
All
Thanks
right.
again. And yeah, we'll be back. Perfect. So let me make myself smaller here. Actually, perfect. So, what I wanted to do is run through a little bit of our course options and information while we let Nikolai take a break here. Um, so, in terms of if you today enjoyed today's session, we'd love to have you continue your education with us. You know, my favorite part of hosting these open houses is, of course, getting that insight and that you know very important kind of information from someone who's been through the program and who has experience outside of the learning and they've been past that and also are working in the real environment, as well as, you know, to show off some of the amazing work that some of our students have been able to create over the years, whether it's, you know, creating unique Unity scenes or building interactive AR experiences with Vuforia, or just scripting mind-blowing experiences using C Sharp. Ultimately, we love to help our students along their learning path and help them to achieve amazing things. Now, on screen, you can see a few examples of our students, other than Nikolai, who have gone out to carve out a career in XR after learning with Circuit Stream and going through our program and, you know, taking advantage of all the amazing things that you get access to throughout through our community and our programs. Now, going into the details, the reason why we're all here today, the XR Development with Unity program. This is a beginner-friendly 10-week project-based program that is also live, online, and instructor-led. You'll focus on making AR and VR applications in Unity with 3 hours of instruction per week, lifetime access to both the class recordings that Nikolai mentioned, as well as the 5 office hours per week. And with our plus package of the program, you'll also have 10 hours of one-on-one time with our experts, as well as access to the C Sharp Scripting Fundamentals program, which is an on-demand self-paced program that is 4 weeks long. Now, this course is available through Circuit Stream directly or through any of our local university partners. The next upcoming cohort for the program is October 4th, and same with our university partners, the University of British Columbia, University of Toronto, University of San Diego, and UC Riverside. They all have cohorts as well, all starting on October 4th. Now, the other one of our 10-week programs is the interaction design and prototyping for XR, for those of us more interested in design and prototyping. The program is also 10 weeks, live, online, instructor-led with 3 hours of instruction per week, lifetime access to the recordings, as well as the 5 office hours per week, with the option for the 10 hours of one-on-one time. as well as the C# scripting fundamentals program through our Plus package. Now, the next cohort for this program is September 28th. And if that's too soon for you guys, we do have another one coming up on December 12th. This course is also available through us directly or through any of our university partners as well. Now, lastly, we have our amazing Unity Developer Bootcamp, which will prepare you for a 3D development career, help you build a portfolio of 10 plus projects, and our one-on-one career services help ensure you make the right connections in the industry to help you make the best first impression on potential employers. Now, I'm proud to announce that the bootcamp is now available not only through us directly, but through our university partners as well. The next cohort for the bootcamp is coming up on October 11th. Now, beyond the lessons themselves, we've also created a robust community of XR learners. We touched on it through our conversation with Nikolai, but all of our students and alumni get lifetime access to all of the material and recording from their classes, in addition to lifetime access to all of the perks associated with our community, such as, all of the events that our student experience coordinator and student experience team put together. They facilitate extra office hours, support group, demo days, and so much more. And again, there is no experience required for any of our 10-week programs, even though it is a good idea to have somewhat of a familiarity. But again, no experience is required, so beginners have no fear. We do have the tools, the resources, and the support that you will need to be able to kickstart your XR careers. Now, I'm sure many of you are wondering about tuition prices. I did mention the starter package versus the plus package, so I'm going to take a few minutes to kind of go over that with you guys. We offer the two different packages for our 10-week programs, the XR development as well as the XR design program. The starter package starts at $3,950 USD, and the plus package starts at $4,950 USD. A quick word on the university tuition. The starter and the plus packs are sold for the same price as what you see on screen right now. Our Canadian partners process their tuition in Canadian dollars. However, in order to access that pricing, you have to live in the province where the partner is located. And if you do, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be able to enroll you through our university partners and secure a seat for you. Now, our boot camp has a regular tuition price of $14,995 USD. We do offer financing plans for all of our programs, so just to make it a little bit easier for everyone and make it a little bit more affordable for everyone. So for our international students, we do internal financing plans of 3, 6, and 12-month payment plans. And then for our American students, we work with an external financing partner called Climb, and they offer loans of up to 5 years for our boot camp and up to 20 months for our 10-week courses, both starter or plus packages. Now on screen, you'll see our admissions team. We're a little bit different than other companies in that we're extremely involved in the before, during, and after part of your registration process. We're here not only answer any questions you might have about the course, about the programs, about the financials, but also to get a better understanding of what your educational goals are and what you're hoping to do after the fact to really determine which one of our programs would best fit your needs and kind of paint a picture of the path that you have ahead of you. You can reach out to us directly through our website or through a call or email if you've already connected with one of us previously. Now, feel free to head over to the learning page on our website or any of our affiliated partner websites to learn more about each of the courses, to download a syllabus, or to submit an application to enroll so that a member of our admissions team knows to reach out. Now, this kind of concludes this portion of the presentation as well. Thank you guys again for joining at this point. What I do want to mention is that I did publish a couple of polls in the polls tab. One of them is how serious are you about pursuing XR development as a career? And then the next one is, would you like to speak to a member of our admissions team about the XR development with Unity program or any of our other programs for that matter? So I do see that questions are coming in at a rapid pace. So what I would like to do is I would like to invite Nikolai back up on stage so we can get started with answering your questions live. Hey again, Nikolai, thank you
Hey.
for coming back and for your patience. Let me just bring us up here. There we go. Perfect. All right. So again, there's a lot of questions. I will start the questions. We'll bring them on screen. We'll read them out loud, and then we'll just kind of answer them between the two of us. All right. Let's see. I have a question. How is the XR market in Canada? Um, if you have any insight on that, Nikolai, I'll let you kind of take the first crack at it, and then I can kind of shed some light as well.
I'll be completely honest and say I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, based on just some of the things that we've seen and some of the conversations that we've had, Canada, it's not, I would say it's not as big as the US or some other parts of the world. However, it's not far behind. It's getting in more and more in different industries, like we mentioned in our discussion. So it's only a matter of time, but it is definitely coming in. I mean, again, our university partnerships prove that even the established universities such as the University of Toronto and University of British Columbia, they're also thinking about this technology. They're investing money into this technology as well. So it's only a matter of time before, this takes off, and in my opinion, takes over in a lot of the different industries that we have. Perfect. And then let's see here. This one is, I think we kind of touched on this a little bit. AR glasses and contacts, virtual reality, MMORPG, high school switching to a virtual reality style classroom. Trying to see what you see things being, where you see things being in the next 5 years. Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah, yeah, this could take 2 hours, but yeah, I love that those types of questions, right? Being a futurist myself, like I wonder these things when I'm at the bathroom, and some of the things I tend to wonder, is that AR contact lens, like what can it do? I've obviously seen a few examples of that, but it's truly exciting and also a little bit scary having like a digital implant in my eye. I don't know if I truly want that close to me, but I think as it goes for the future, as I said before, I think AR is already here in our phones, you could say, but the AR glasses, as you're writing about here, I do think that we'll see more and more of that as they get lighter, technology improves and gets smaller, and it becomes a normal form factor, so you don't look socially awkward. I think that's one of the key things that I think the hardware limitations will be for driving the install base is the how social is your glasses. I think we see Snapchat with their glasses, AR glasses. That's kind of I think quite normal, and I think Facebook has partnered with Ray-Ban with AR glasses as well, which I don't think they've promoted that well, but they have, and I think that's pretty cool. I also would be highly concerned again about privacy and like everybody recording everything all the time with a camera streaming wherever you look. But yeah, I think that's a part of the future too. Is like how do we adapt our world, physical world, to that concern, which I think everybody will have on their minds.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot of, like you mentioned, there's a lot of unknowns,
Yeah.
and when it comes to the hardware side, some limitations as well. So it's a hard question to answer because, like you mentioned, you never know what's going to happen in the future, what sort of advancements we're going to get. So, but no, I think you put it a lot better than I can. Let's just put it that way. So, um, we do I'm trying to get through all of these, so I'm just going to go one by one here. Another question: XR in movie making. Do you think there is a promising future or career in that spectrum?
Where's Andrew? So Andrew worked 10 years, 15 years in movies in LA, I believe. So, but yeah, I think some of the really cool, exciting stuff is like the volumetric capturing that's happening in studios, and I just seeing what Unreal is doing with, virtual backgrounds completely that you can switch on the fly. I've just seen their demo. It just truly is amazing, and I'm not a movie maker, so I just can only imagine from what I've seen what you're able to do. But I think it'll be huge. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's again any sort of technology like this that's coming up so fast. I think, it's gonna find its way into a lot of different industries, and movie making being one of them for sure. This next question is a little bit more specific to the 10-week program, the XR development with Unity. Someone looking to design spaces experiences in blockchain-based metaverse worlds. Is the 10-week course suitable for them? Um, what are your thoughts having gone
Well,
through the program?
I think it really depends on how experienced you are. Just knowing a little bit about actually blockchain and you know what is it? Is the 10-week possible? Or something looking to the sign spaces in. Okay. Yeah, so Decentraland, I know a little bit about. There are these, ecosystems where you sort of create sort of a plot of land and you build that kind of stuff. And I can't remember if Decentraland is using Unity, but if you're looking to build assets, like build, assets to sell on Decentraland, for example, I think this course is definitely suitable for that. Absolutely. If you're trying to build assets that you can use in various ways and build in worlds and environments inside other worlds, because the base understanding you'll get from just toying around with Unity and learning Unity is very transferable to other types of IDEs, integrated development environments that other platforms might be using. So, yeah, if you scope out the project to be sort of small enough, I think you could definitely, contribute to some of those spaces you mentioned.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. There's so many questions here. I'm just trying to go through them one by one. So, let's see here. I want to focus on modeling within Blender. How much of this course could I also incorporate that within Unity and C Sharp?
So, to my knowledge, there's no Blender. Is that what the question? I want to focus on modeling within Blender. I don't quite understand that question. Did you understand that question, Ro?
No, to be honest with you, I don't quite
But
understand
the,
it either. Focus on modeling within Blender. How much of this course could I also incorporate that within Unity and C Sharp? Let's see. I think I'm gonna see who that was. Ashley, if you could elaborate a little bit on your question, if you're still with us, that would be great. We'll keep an eye out on the chat and we'll get back. We'll come back to this question. Let's see here. So this one here, I think it goes back to our discussion that we had. Jan is asking, it was mentioned that one of the avenues for XR job placement was working with an agency. Do you have an example of some examples of an agency that hires XR talent? Have you worked
um,
with any or do you know of any?
yeah, there are many of them out there in varying sort of professional degrees. I think they're, the bigger studios, design agencies or advertisement agencies that does sort of like work for bigger companies, right? And then there are sort of the more rogue ones, which are sort of like privately owned and are sort of basically, doing project jobs, right? Um, and essentially, they're small agencies that hire a group of people on a project basis and rent them out as contractors. So that's another sort of you know type of XR, agency, you could say. Um, I don't have any concrete examples of names of those. No.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. Let's see. All right. And I already asked this question, so I'll skip that one. They're asking, where do you see, as an insider, where do you see this this industry and technology going? I think we got into that in a lot of detail. Let's see here. All right. It says, I don't know how to code. Will I be able to handle this course?
You'd be able to handle it, but it would be really hard. I think, to be completely honest, I've you know left like a link to a Unity path, learning path. I think when you that's a really good supplement to do. Path 1 and 2 in the link that I replied to that question in the questions tab there. Um, that will certainly help you. I think it's really a plus if you know how to if you know how to if you understand C sharp and how to code a little bit before, because otherwise you're going to be spending all your time there and you're not going to maybe not have time for learning the other things. So I definitely advise people to know C sharp a little.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. Um, can you still hear us, Nikolai? I think your video's
Yeah.
frozen, so I just want to make sure. Okay. Oh, I think you're already answering the question that I was going to bring up live. I'll bring it up live if you want to answer it live so others can hear your answer as well. It says, my goal is to be, I think this question is from Alexander. My goal is to be able to build AR experiences as a music artist. Would this course be suitable to build an AR show? For example, fans of the music artist could show up to a specific real world location and watch an AR experience paired with the artist's music.
Well, I would never say no. It sounds like a really ambitious project, like mine did. I think what's interesting about this particular thing you want to do is, um, I think if you could make a small version of it, right? What if you could just like bring in a guitar, right, in AR that plays a song, right, in a specific spot. So if you think about the component, it's like there's a location where the music shows up, and then there's some rendering of some assets, right, on top of the real world. And what if you could make them play when you go over and tap those on maybe an iPhone screen or an Android screen? That's not a music show, but if you scale it up, there'll be assets of people and other instruments with their own music in their own right. And so if you can make a small version of something and make that work, you can make a larger version of that. So I think if you scope your project correctly and set your expectations, then you probably would be able to do it. And again, it depends on your experience.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, right? It's I would say baby steps, start small and then kind of gradually work towards that big goal. And
Yeah.
along the way, obviously you have to learn new things and upskill and overcome a lot of obstacles. So that's definitely, I think that's a great answer to that. Let's see here. There's another one. This one, it's from Todd Kirby. It says, Roham, how long are most of your instructors with your company? Do you hire exceptional students to become instructors after completion of the program? Our instructors, most of our instructors have been with our organization for years. I mean, Ozzy, that Nikolai mentioned, he's been here since the dawn of Circuit Stream. So a lot of our instructors have been with us for a long, long time. And yes, we do hire exceptional students to become instructors. We've done it in the past multiple times. That's always there. When we have a job opening, it's a job opportunity for everyone. And if you're an alumni, even better. So yeah, to answer that question, we definitely do that. All right, these questions keep coming in. Okay, let's see. I think you are. I think we have answered most of these questions here. I'm just going to give a couple more minutes for those final questions. If you have them, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'm just joking. You can definitely send us an email or reach out to us. We can definitely answer those questions as well. All right, we got one final one here. Does this course help in developing further my idea of usage of AR with glasses in production environments?
I like the specificity of that question. So what I can say is that what we did, with AR when I took the course was, um, we had sort of a dollar bill, right, where we projected a game object on it, and so we could render it, on the screen and use it that way. If you already have experience with AR glasses and how that works, I think that would be really cool if you could figure that out yourself. But to the extent of AR, the AR that we used were like Android and smartphone AR devices, so not glasses. So in that sense, I don't know if it's changed, Roham, but maybe you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, I mean, depending on, I would say if you for example go with the plus package that includes the one-on-one time, you can really kind of we can cater to exactly what your needs are, right? Like if that's the idea that you have and that's what you want to work on, we can definitely assist with that as well. We do update our courses. I know that we are updating our XR developments with Unity program on a regular basis. Pretty much all of our courses, after every cohort, we go through and kind of make those changes as well. In terms of exactly in that piece, if that's been changed, I'll be honest, I don't know 100%. But yeah, again, we can cater to specific needs and wants through the one-on-one times that we have. Perfect. I think that marks the end of the questions. So thank you very much, Nikolai, for joining
Yeah, it
us
was
today
fun.
and for taking the time. This was super fun. I really appreciate it. I'm sure
Yeah, good
everyone on the
questions
call
too.
appreciated it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. We had a
yeah,
lot of good questions, and thank you again for sharing
yeah,
your wisdom and for sharing your experience with us.
yeah.
The
And
last,
and last thing I want to say is that, I'll just share my LinkedIn, because in case anybody wants to reach out and maybe talk more about it, because I know some for me it was very specific questions, and I didn't have a forum to ask those questions. Obviously, this is one of them. But if you didn't get to ask it, here's my LinkedIn. You're welcome to reach out. I'm happy to, share my knowledge about what my experience was, so you can make the right decision for you. Yeah.
yeah, thank you again. That is huge, and I hope everyone actually takes you up on that offer because it's, as you probably know, as you're learning something super new, especially
Yeah.
something like this when it's a new technology, having a mentor is just priceless. It
Yeah.
goes a long, long way. So, thank
Yeah.
you for doing that, for sharing your LinkedIn and
Absolutely.
being a mentor. And one other question that we had, I mean, I want to mention this before we leave. They said that will there be a recording of this session? Absolutely. There is going to be a recording. Everyone who registered will receive a copy of the recording through email. But with that, again, thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And we will see you next time.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Keep learning. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.